Jeff Newton here with National VA Loans. To contact us here at National VA Loans, it's 855-956-4040. Or, of course, you can always check us out online at www.nationalvaloans.com. And you can check us out on YouTube and just search National VA Loans. All right, guys, today I want to talk to you a little bit about some things that we, of course, we get questions all the time. And one of them is always, one of the hot topics, as always, is credit and some credit tips. Some things you can do. We're running into a lot of first-time home buyers, which has been really awesome. We love working with first-time home buyers. And so, there's some things that as a first-time home buyer you need to do, and things that you need to have ready for whenever you are ready to buy that first house and put that offer in. So these credit tips will be some things that you can use to kind of help you get on the way and make sure you're ready to go whenever you are ready to put that offer in. So we'll go ahead here and we'll get started. First thing I want to have you, and actually I should have told you this, either be able to save this video so you can go back and review it later, or just get a pen and piece of paper out, like it was 1992, and write some stuff down, because there's going to be some really good information in here. The very first screen is one that not many people understand or know, but this is something you want to have available to you. You want to have all the National Credit Bureau's phone numbers. That way you can always get a free copy of your credit report. You can take a look at what's out there. You can see what's actually being reported, so you know exactly what's being reported on your bureau. You can find out if things are incorrect, or if they are correct, or if they needed to be updated and stuff like that. So it's a good idea to have these numbers. The Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, those are the three major repositories for credit, and these are the numbers that you're going to want to use to contact them. So I'll give you a second here so you can write those down, or again, just save this screen or this video so you have it available to you, because there are going to be some really good things in here. So again, there's the numbers for the Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, all three of the major repositories. All right, let's get into this and get into tip number one. This is getting familiar with your accounts, and this is a good thing. This is actually something that I personally do, where I have a spreadsheet that lists out all my accounts. It's of course got the websites that I go to. It has the in one column I put the credit limit if it's a revolving credit card or something along those lines. I put the credit limit there. Then I put the balance that's owed. Of course, then the monthly payment or the minimum monthly payment, and I have it all listed in one place. Number one, it's good to have all those things, and you can even go a little bit further, and you've got your website, your credit limit, your minimum payment. And then it's good to have a contact phone number in case you need to contact them if you lost the card. Because I love that they put the number on the card for you to call in case you lost it. Well, if you had the card, you wouldn't need to call. So I always say put it on the spreadsheet so you've got it available to you. So if you do lose a card or something like that, you've got it in one spot. You can go in and you can find that number and give them a call and get that updated. But it's good to have those all in one spot. It helps you with balancing your budget as well, so you know exactly, okay, this is my minimum payment. This is, now granted, if you look at minimum payment on a credit card and you've got a couple $1,000 balance, it could take 4 or 5 years to pay just by paying that minimum payment. So you want to see what you can do to update that every month and pay maybe a little bit more to get that balance down a little bit. But this is a spreadsheet you can update as you go. You'll know exactly what you've paid every month to those accounts, and you can put yourself in a good position by having all your information in one spot. Whether it's a spreadsheet or if it's, there's apps, there's an app for that, right? There's always an app for everything. So whether you use an app on your phone or a spreadsheet, whichever is easiest for you, but it's good to have all that information in one spot. The tip number two, pay smallest to largest. And this is a good idea as well, and something that again, these are all things that I've used over my life and to build credit. But a tried and true way is to attack debt using the snowball method, which is a plan centered around paying off your smallest debts first, and then once that account is paid off, taking that payment and applying it to the next debt in line. This is a really good idea, and it's something you can do. So let's just kind of give an idea here. Let's say you've got 3 credit cards, and one of them has a $5,000 balance, one of them has a $3,000 balance, and one of them has a $1,000 balance. So you make the minimum payments on your $3,000 balance card and your $5,000 balance card, but that $1,000 balance, you pay extra on it to get it paid out. Once that one is paid, then you apply the extra you were paying on that on top of your second highest card, your $3,000 balance card, until you get that paid off. And then you apply all that to your $5,000 card until you pay all that, or pay that one off as well. That'll help stick the money where it really needs to be, which is against those larger debts, but it gets those smaller ones out of the way. Now, of course, these are credit cards, so if you use them again, you've got to be able to fluctuate those and be able to move back and forth depending on the card. But this is a good way to do it. And you can apply the same principle to your installment loans, whether it be student loan debt, car loans. Most households nowadays, depending on, especially if you're married with kids and things like that, you've got two car loans. So if you've got one that's a $20,000 vehicle and one that's an $8,000 vehicle, if you're going to pay extra, pay it towards that $8,000 vehicle and get it paid off, and then you can apply even more money towards your $20,000 vehicle, or the one that you have a balance of around $20,000 on. So you can apply those differently, or that same effect right into installment loans as well as you can credit cards. Tip number 3: avoid new debts. This is a big one, and it's not easy to do. And I'll be honest, I'm no different than anyone else. I mean, I've had debts for things that I wish I didn't have, but it was a necessity at the time. But you want to try to avoid going deeper into debt. The last thing you want to do is to dig a bigger hole when you're trying to actually get out of debt, and whether it be to purchase a home, or save for college, or just save for anything as far as putting money aside, or whether it be a trip for the family, or whatever it may be. So you want to try to avoid going into any deeper debt. Of course, there's a lot of guys out there, the Dave Ramseys of the world, and look, I'm not opposed to the teachings of Dave Ramsey, but I'm also a realist, and I know that this world works a little differently than what it did in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s even. So things are more expensive. Cars, heck, vehicles right now. You buy a truck and you're looking at $50,000-$60,000 for a truck. Now, granted, it's not like the trucks of old; they've got all the bells and whistles, but you're still going into deep debt on a vehicle and things like that, because you just don't have the cash laying around to come out and pay cash for that vehicle. And if you did save the cash up, it could take you 2 to 3 years, and by that time the vehicle prices have gone up another 8 to 10%, and so you're still behind the 8 ball. So, but what you want to do is avoid going into deeper debt. And one of the things that I would always suggest in a situation like this, and we'll probably hit this a little bit more as we go through this, but one of the things I would suggest is stay away from the store credit cards, the Walmarts, the Zales, the Costco cards, all those little store credit cards that can kind of add up over time. And next thing you know, instead of paying 3 bills every month, you're paying 13. So if you can stay away from those little store cards, which actually don't help your credit the way you would think, it's definitely a benefit to you if you can just stay away from those. Use your primary credit cards or your bank card, and that way you can avoid going into deeper debt and spreading everything out between all these different kind of cards. Number 3, make on-time payments. Boy, this is a very important one. No matter what it is, make an on-time payment. Now, granted, you do have a 30-day grace period with anything you're doing, whether it be a mortgage or your home loan or your car loan or credit cards. There's typically a grace period in there. Now, you want to make sure that you know what those grace periods are, and this is probably something to be good to add to that spreadsheet that we talked about there on tip number 1. But know what your grace periods are, because again, I'm a realist. Things happen, things come up, and I mean, it's you never know what could happen. So plan accordingly. So whenever you're doing that spreadsheet, make sure you have your grace periods on there, so that you know if, okay, I need to do this or this or this, you can maneuver in the way you need to do it. Because the last thing you want to do is to be late on anything, whether it be a small credit card. I've seen a $20 payment on a credit card affect a person's credit 80, 90 points. That's a lot, and it wasn't in a good way. It was in a bad way. So these little things like that are things that you want to make sure that you're always on time. It's pretty simple comment, but the fact of the matter is you need to set it up to where you can be on time, and where everything's getting paid out the way it should be. Tip number 5, emergency fund. This is always good. I mean, everyone should have an emergency fund, and I'm no different than anyone else. I think we all need to have it. And right now, $1,000, it seems daunting. It may seem daunting, or maybe to some it may not seem like it's enough. Well, $1,000, what's that going to do? The fact of the matter is, you have to start somewhere. So you can start by building it to 1,000. and then build it up to 2,000, and then build it up to 3,000, and then once you get it to say $4,000 or $5,000, you can transfer some of those funds into your actual savings account, and then leave a $2,000 emergency fund, and then continually build it. That way, I mean, emergencies can range from anything from doctor bills. Uh, I mean, heck, I mean, we're in the middle of America. Sometimes the roads aren't the best in the winter around here. I mean, you might hit a pothole, sink your whole damn car. So you might have to put an old front end on the thing. There's emergencies that come up all the time, whether it be a flat or you just got to change a tire and you need to put that, or you need to buy a new set of tires. Five, six, seven, $800, and if you've got one of those nice $60,000 trucks that we were talking about, you might spend $1,500 to $2,000. You've been to rim on your vehicle, that's another $300-$400 sometimes. So these emergency funds are good to have, and they're because again, we don't know what's going to happen. It's just an insurance, and I've always said I'm not a fan of insurance because it's in case something happens. Well, if you're going to have insurance, make it force placed and put it on yourself, and you be the insurance policy. You set the money aside and give yourself a little peace of mind in case something does come up and you need to have $100 to pay this one credit card payment, or $100 or $300 to pay for a new tire, or $500 for a mechanical breakdown, or whatever it may be. Just have those funds available and just set that aside. And you don't have to go big. Just go $100 every paycheck, $50 every paycheck, whatever it takes, but get yourself in there to where you have an emergency fund so that you don't ever have to worry about missing a payment of any kind. Pay off debt instead of moving it around. Yeah, I will agree with that. Don't get me wrong. There's ways to do this financial thing all smart, and you can do it the right way. So let's kind of get into what this is talking about as far as you've got, and credit cards is always a big topic. So let's talk about three different credit cards. You have a Discover, you have a Bank of America card, and let's say you've got a Walmart card. Well, your Walmart card is got a 28% interest. Your Bank of America has a 12% interest, and your Discover's has a 0% interest for the next 6 months. Maybe in that situation, it makes sense to maybe pay off those other accounts and move it over onto your Discover card, and then make sizable payments to that so you can get it paid off. But the biggest thing you can do is to get the balances paid down, especially on revolving debt. You want to get it paid down below 35% if you possibly can. That's going to give you the best credit rating possible as far as your revolving debt goes. So maybe not move it around, but again, there are financial reasons to do that, and when it makes sense, go ahead and do it. But just make sure that you're always shifting that when you do shift those balances, that you're paying them down as quickly as possible because you're doing it for a reason. Good rule of thumb to be proactive with your payments is just set up reminders. Again, that's what I was talking about on the spreadsheet. If you set up a reminder, you have you know when your payment due date is, you know when your grace period is, and you set up reminders, whether you do auto pay or you go in and pay it. I know some people like auto pay and some people don't. I happen to be one that likes to go in and just make my payment, get it paid on time. I physically go in and do it to the account on my online, and go into my account, do it. Plus, it's a good time to check and see where you're at. Make sure your balance is what you thought it is. Make sure your rates are what you thought they were, and make sure it's done right. And it allows you to get it, just kind of give it a checkup every month. So, but again, some people don't have time for that, and then they can't work it into that schedule. So if not, set up a payment reminder and do auto pay and let it automatically come out of your account so that it's paid on time every time. Tip 8, making your payments on time and staying the course. Again, like we just said, make your payments on time. Get them paid, whether that's setting up a payment reminder, whether that's setting up auto pay. Either way, you want to get them paid and get them on time every time. Find a mentor. This is a good one, and believe me, this is something that's hard for me as well. And it was, and I wish I would have taken this advice. I wish I would have had someone give me this advice 20 years ago, whenever I was really starting out in the world, and because if I would have, things would have probably been a lot easier in my 20s. Now, of course, some of us are proud. I'm raising my hand. I assure you, I am one of those proud individuals that thinks, well, I can do this myself. Well, let me tell you something. Credit is a confusing world. Credit debt is simple to get, especially when you're young. It's very easy to get. And I mean, just ask any college kid, as soon as he gets on campus, or she gets on campus, they're getting littered and papered with people that are trying to get them credit cards. Their emails are full of credit card offers. Their emails are full of payday loan offers. And when you're 19, 20, 21, I mean, even, as you get older, it's something you consider, and you might grab a hold of it, and then next thing you know, it's a snowball effect and you get in trouble. So find somebody that you trust. I mean, hopefully mom, dad, aunt, uncle, someone along those lines, older sibling that you can trust, and actually have a conversation about, what is my goal? What are my financial goals? Is it to buy a home? Is it to, I mean, now granted, if you're a veteran, you get to buy a home with 100% financing, so you don't have to have the money down, but maybe your financial goals are to be able to furnish that home, because that's something that a lot of people forget about, is actually furnishing the home. And of course, when they remember that, then they get credit cards and they go out and do it that way. But if your goal is to furnish your home, then maybe you start setting money aside. You're paying off your debt as you go. You set a little bit of money aside so that you've got that availability to pay, or to add furnishings to your home, and simple things like that. But guys, I know that it's easy to say, you know what, I got this. But it's not a bad thing to ask questions. And that's what we're here for at National VA Loans, Community First National Bank, 855-956-4040. We're happy to answer any questions. I mean, because this is confusing. It's confusing for us at times, and we need to look things up, and we have to figure out, why something is the way it is. But if you can find someone, a close family member, someone along those lines that can help you, maybe just put a different perspective on it, of how you save the money and how you put it away, then, and again, I like this top one right here, the goal setting. This is important. I mean, I'm a big goal setter. You've got to set goals, because that's just a way you've accomplished something. So it's a very good thing to set a goal. And again, if you've got someone around you that's family or friends that can help, bounce questions off of and get you answers, it's a great opportunity that you should take. This is a big one, and this is a little confusing. And this is also why I say you want to check your credit report, and that's where, some of the free reports out there that, we all know who they are. There's tons of them, but some of those free reports, you can go online and you can get an idea of maybe not so much what your score is, because that's not the necessary importance of it, but you want to see what your trade lines are. Make sure that nothing is reporting incorrectly. Make sure that there's nothing reporting that you really didn't have. I've told this story a million times, but I remember I was 22 years old, and all of a sudden I showed a foreclosure on my credit report. Well, I never even owned a home at that point. So little things like that, and it took forever to get it off there because I had to prove that it wasn't me. Well, it's hard to prove a negative, and they make it that way. But if you're diligent, you're on top of it in the beginning, you can get it removed and you can get it taken care of. So you want to make sure that you review not only what your scores are, because that's what everyone talks about. Oh, well, I'm a 720 or I'm a 630 or whatever that may be, whatever that score may be. The real important part is, what do your trade lines look like? How much do you owe versus how much credit debt do you have versus how much credit availability do you have? Are there errors on there? Does it show a late on a credit card when there really wasn't a late on the credit card? Little things like that are what you want to look at the credit report for. Okay, guys, that's really about it. I mean, believe me, there's a whole lot of stuff when it comes to credit and things like that. And I'd be more than happy to go through it in any more depth with anyone. If you just give us a call, at 855-956-4040. Check us out online, nationalvaloans.com, or on Facebook at facebook.com/nationalvaloans. If you would like to get an idea and get pre-qualified for a home mortgage and see where you're at, you can do that also. And that's a real simple website. It's just www.nationalapplynow.com. Just make sure to put in there Jeff Newton or National VA Loans, and one of our senior mortgage bankers will get back to you and be able to review credit, go over all your different options, and see what you have available to you. Again, that number here to contact us is 855-956-4040. We really appreciate your time. Thank you for your service, and God bless. Take care.